My name is Dean Page, and I'm a certified life coach. I help my clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. I've also had the opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people. People who have had unique careers, built up businesses, and triumphed through adversity. So one day it dawned on me, why not put the two together? Why not start a show where people can tell their stories of building success and rebuilding from adversity, with the intent purpose to encourage, inspire, and inform others who are working on their goals to fulfill their dreams. Now, if I only knew what to call it. Maybe I should make a list. Wait, that's it. The Dean's List. Kinda has a nice ring to it. So I hope you join my guests and I on this upcoming episode of The Dean's List. Have you ever had a dream that you worked really hard on, but yet it seems like no matter what, you just don't quite make it? And then one day, looking back, you realize maybe you need to change your attitude a little bit. So you make the changes that you need, and you are seeing results. The only thing is you're no longer 20 or even 30. Does that mean it's too late? Yeah, I don't think so. And the next story shows that. It's my friend Justin Rando, who literally the night before had just done a segment on WWE Raw in New York. See, sometimes when you make changes, dreams still can come true. When I was teaching, I used to tell people, because yeah, I mean, we did travel when we did at the World Championships for the American Taekwondo Association, and we do stuff at Disney's, Wide World Sports, stuff like that. So we were in that particular, I don't want to say league, organization. It was
Yeah,
certainly competitive. And, we would train people for that too. But I always said there was a difference between it can always get better versus never good enough.
right.
What do you think about that?
No, I agree with that because if you have there's two different that's right there is two different statements. You
Even though
know,
it
like
sounds the same really quick,
even though
it's
it sounds
not.
the same, you could be like everything I do is just never good enough,
And
or
there's
it's
some teachers like that too.
right. And there is. So that's the thing is you don't want a coach who's going to tell you that. There's a coach that's going to tell you that everything you do is never going to be good enough. Then that's not going to help you get better. It's going to make you be
Mhm.
resentful. It's going to probably make you hate the business. You're going to
Yeah.
put a bad taste in your mouth about coaches too. So then that'll happen is now you have this idea of what a coach is, and so every time you go and get a new coach, you're going to just always think that this guy's out to just make me feel that everything I do is never going to be good enough.
Right. Which
Um,
is different than this is how to get better.
right, right. So their in point is that, and I think that's the good thing too is like when you look at we were talking about age and maturity and growth and change and stuff like that, and when you get some of these guys that are like 19, you have to be like if those guys are coachable and they are all together like a good like they got the look, they got the attitude, they got the confidence, they got stuff like that. Like Brad Baylor. Like Brad Baylor
Mm.
is like one of the guys. Like I think Brad's great. Like I love like working with Brad. Um, he's great in the locker room. Like I've been with him for the last like three WWE TVs. I've been with him, and he is just like just he's right there with the professionalism.
I
You
can
know what
see
I
the
mean? Like
growth in him from WFA too. From
yeah,
when the first time I saw him to now, I'm like, you know, growth
but
of
him and
just, yeah.
him and Spencer, like when it comes to the professionalism, they're both right there. Like they both carry themselves with, confidence, but yet
Hmm.
they're like not arrogant. They have the confidence, but they're not like arrogant, and they have
Hmm.
good locker room etiquette.
The professional wrestler.
And Spencer has done. I mean, Spencer's the type of guy like now. So I never met Spencer Slade before my entire life until like um one show for WFA,
Hmm.
and then he came up and stayed for a weekend, and he was coming up to stay for a weekend, and Mike says, I really think you should come up and train with him. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really know Spencer, but like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Um, and came up and trained with Spencer, and Spencer literally is the type of guy that like he not only wanted to see me get better, but like he wanted to see he wanted everybody else to see what my potential was
Wow.
and to use me the way that he thought they should be using me, if that makes sense. Like,
It
you know, he'd
does.
be like, listen, I want to showcase like the fact that you can do this, and that you're a hard worker, and that you're motivated, you're determined, all that type of stuff. Like Spencer do, and he would just like he would want to see good stuff happening for not only him but me at the same time. So if
Which
it was
is
going to put
great.
him in a good light,
Yeah.
he would want to make sure that that good light was somehow on me, even if we were only working
Yeah.
2 minutes in a match. So I'll give you a perfect example. Like I just
Yeah.
referee him and Scott Reed's match,
Yeah.
and
I saw that. I
it,
was there.
yeah, so it was a last man standing match,
Yeah.
and I talked to Spencer about being a referee, how I need to show my authority like a little bit. You know, like I need to show when I need to be tough as a ref. I need to show when I need to be tough. We're about to go through the curtain, and he goes, "I'm going to get on you at some point, and I want you to be on me. Like
Yeah.
I want you
Yeah.
to like really make sure that it's known your authority is known." And I'm like, okay. So he like took it upon
Wow.
himself
Yeah.
to make sure that I knew he was going to make sure that everybody else knew that I was I was supposed to. I'm a good referee. Like I'm trying to be the best referee in my seventh professional match that I've refed in the course of 2 months. But like to be where it shows to everybody that like, wow, man, like he's really getting it. Like now he shows his authority. Like
Yeah.
he's not selfish. That's the thing. Like you talk about a lot of wrestlers will be
That
selfish.
is
You know,
that is just so good. And again, being at that match, I remember that spot too. And it did at first. You're like, "Ooh, is Rando gonna go at him?" You know, and plus his reaction back to you. It was
yeah,
it was and it didn't take anything away from him. I mean, if
no,
anything, it added to the match.
you know
So,
he can't hit me. You know he'll lose the match. Like um, I
hey,
just think that
but he
that's
didn't. Yeah, I mean, it was great. Obviously, I'm a
he's not selfish at all. Like he wants to
mhm,
see everybody. If he
which is good.
likes, well, the thing is here's the thing is he doesn't like lazy. I
Yeah, I
don't
could
like
see
lazy.
that. I could see that.
You know, I don't like lazy. He doesn't like lazy. I don't like lazy.
Hmm.
Guys like Anthony don't like lazy. Baylor, I'm sure I haven't asked him, but I'm sure Baylor don't like lazy.
I don't think so.
Those those guys right there know what it's going to take and what they need to do, and that's why I think when you look at again about not being selfish is like when you respect somebody else or you know what the other person's capable of, it's kind of like you're pulling for them. But if
Hmm.
you're lazy and you're not, doing what you should be doing, you're not going to practice, you're not in the gym, you're not doing this, and you want to be a superstar, they don't have time to hear that,
Right.
you know,
Just go play
because
Xbox.
yeah, just go play your video games, go
Make
play
your little character and do it that way because it ain't gonna
yeah,
happen.
play 23 and have fun. But
Yeah, we
those
should do
guys
a
in
sponsorship for that.
uh, I got two more that are really that
Oh,
are guys
good.
that Kyle Brandon. Kyle, I worked Kyle at the fair before the mosh pit match. Mosh pit's a great match, and I was too mosh pit. But Kyle Brandon, I worked him before mosh pit and Brian Malonis match at the opening.
Oh, wow.
Great attitude, fun to work with, like just the smiling all the time. Just I don't know. What do you want to? I don't know. Just always in a good mood. I loved working him. Like he's got it. He's got the athletic. Man, the kid is athletic as hell too. I'll tell you
Mhm.
that. Um, so Kyle and Diego. I work Diego.
Yep.
Um, Diego's motivated. Like
We saw that one.
like I was at practice like last 2 weekends ago, and Diego was doing a practice match or something, and I was watching him. And I said afterwards, I was like, we had, Mike had asked about ideas, and I was like, man, I was like, I can see you coming up with like one thing that would just. He's got the thing where he like lays across the top rope,
Yes. Yep.
and I said to him, I said, everybody does that, like there's a lot of guys. I said, I know Diego could figure something else out that's just is
To make
to
it a
that
little
level,
different.
but make it different.
Yeah.
And I think and that's the thing is that he's wicked athletic. He's great. When it comes to like, uh, he's obviously those guys are younger. They're doing a lot more stuff than I am when it comes to, they're working, you know, faster. They do bigger stuff. They kind of, I mean, not that I don't do my fair share of stuff, but those guys they're resilient. They'll bounce back a lot quicker than I will. Um, so like, I think those guys right there, those five right there, I would say are like they're young guys that are. You'll see one or two of them anyway. I
Hmm.
would say with a big company.
I've seen some of those. When I saw you go against Diego, and then I also saw you with Scott Reed. I think it was at the one of
Yep,
the fair shows.
yep,
Well, two of them technically. So different level of experience. Obviously, Scott's been around a while comparatively. Not saying he's old, just saying.
yeah,
So different levels of experience. So how do you, as a wrestler, go into that? Would you know what I mean? Is there a difference?
yeah. With Scott, I was just like, he's more my speed.
Mm,
Uh, my level of like, what are we gonna do? I was like, I ain't got to worry about that. Scott's gonna. Scott, Scott, what do you want to do?
call it there.
But I'm just like, but I wasn't like worried. I'm like, okay, few ideas,
Mhm.
whatever. But I mean, he's like, he's another guy that's like this great attitude and like, good mood. He's fun to work with. Like,
Well, the
so
isn't because it's because of the experience. It's not because he doesn't care. I mean, it's like, well,
no, no, right.
because
It's
you
the
could
experience.
definitely tell he reacts with the audience and plays with
Oh
what's
yeah,
going
but that's
on.
not.
So,
He
but yeah,
knows that we could do way less than these two guys because he knows how to make the crowd react and what to listen for
I think it's
is
the
to what
get
these guys
invested. I think Mike told me
right.
a lot about try to get
They
people
get
invested
emotionally
in you.
invested. They get emotionally invested
Yeah,
in the
that's
match
it.
and the two people in the match and not the moves in the match.
Yeah.
So like looking at like when I worked with Scott, it was just like, okay, Scott, um, yeah, we'll just go out there and like I knew it was just gonna be. It could be slowed down. It could be a few things that would make people. It would make people. It would give them the idea that there was a lot going on, like big bumps, but they really weren't.
Hmm.
I think it was I think I gave him the three amigos suplex
Think
where
so.
I gave
Yeah.
him a suplex, I rolled, gave him another suplex, went to roll again. Um, I forgot how it went, but I think he reversed it or
He
something, and
did.
then we went at the end. Um, so it's just those things that like those aren't big moves, suplex like that where you know.
Yeah, but I
So
remembered it, and I was in the
right,
audience. So
that's what I mean.
doesn't that work? Versus again, I'm not saying
Absolutely
somebody doing ricochet moves 437 times in a match. And you're
right.
going, well, I don't know what it was. I know it was athletic, but I don't know what it was. But I remember
My match,
that.
yeah, my match with Kyle for the opening match in front of there was like
Hmm.
400 people there for that one.
Hmm.
Um, and Kyle and I were just like, listen, you beat me quick. I'm like, and I think that we should do it this way in the beginning to where finally in the end, I go to do the same thing again, but you outsmart me on it or something. You know, so I mean, I
Hmm.
think we worked it like, so it was kind of like, and it was easy. We had like very
Hmm.
few big, like we had a few bumps, but if you listen to the crowd, Mike even said with that match, he's like, the crowd reacted at the times you wanted them to, just how you wanted them to, and it was basic, and it was nothing flashy.
Hmm.
Um, and that was fine, you know. And Kyle could do a lot of flashy stuff. Kyle's
Oh yeah,
got
I've
like,
seen.
you
But
know, he's so
again,
athletic.
you got the buy-in.
Yeah. Um, so working Scott was like, I was looking at that as going into like,
Hmm.
that should be good because Scott's more my speed. Scott's a little bit younger than me, but not much, and he's done a lot more. So he's probably got more wear and tear on his body than I do because he wrestled consistently for umpteen years as opposed to me with breaks for years here and there going back, no real solid practice. And he was like at that level of like, you know, wrestling every day or
Hmm.
close to it, I'm sure. So, you know, I mean, and he's just like, hey, listen, we're just going to do this. We got to make sure that we're doing, you know, smart, safe. And it was a quick, you know, I think all the matches were relatively under 10 minutes for the most part. Um, so I mean, it was good. It was working. Scott was. I would do that again.
You have the dream, desire, and talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best gyms, personal trainers, and workout programs. What about overcoming the challenges, setbacks, or injuries that are a risk to your incredible potential? I can help you with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next. You have the dream, desire, and talent. Guitar player has the riff, drummer the groove, bass player the vibe. The band has it all. And then you try to do a project. I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com to see how life coaching can help you design a project plan that works with your group strengths. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.
Spencer loved working Scott.
Yeah.
Spencer
Well,
said
you
that he by
too.
far thought,
You two are also very believable together.
who Scott and I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know I've said that a few times just because,
we would be a good
listen,
tag team.
I love Rey Mysterio, but him going against the Big Show, unless he does some crazy, insane
Yeah.
thing to outsmart him, I don't, it's no shot, Ray. Love you. But I just
No,
mean it.
I feel like Scott. I said to Scott too. I said you and I could be a good tag team. I was
Oh,
like, because
seriously.
we
Yeah.
have the same, you know, we look the
Mhm.
same, we're similar build. You know, he's a little bit bigger. Um,
I saw
he's
one
a bit,
point where one of the WFA shows I went to, and he had it. The idea was he called anybody in who wanted to try, and it was a new guy came out, and I thought it
who's
was
this?
great. I don't. It wasn't Spencer. It was before that.
No, Scott was doing this. Scott was
Yeah,
calling
Scott.
out.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Not calling out like if hey, does anybody want to see try, their whatever, and somebody came out and did it, and it was great because along with the moves, it was the older lion. I didn't say old Scott.
Yeah,
The older lion, the new lion. What do you got? And not in an aggressive bad way, but like, hey, up and coming. I thought that's brilliant. I mean, obviously it's
yeah,
been done before too, but that just fits and it's so believable. And again, the buy-in type of thing.
yeah.
Again, I'm speaking from somebody on the other side of the gate in the
No, but
seats.
I think it's true. I think you know you got to have that type of you got to have the every type of character in your stable there. You know, I mean, like when you
Mhm.
put on a show, like you can't have all these again. Bring it back to like one dimensional guys. You got to have a spectrum of guys that you can be like, here's the giant, he does giant stuff. Here's the
Yeah,
little fast guy that does the quick, speedy air, you know, air fast. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Um, so it's like you got to look at those guys. Then you got the big, powerful guy that's just jacked with all the muscles that just destroys people. So you got the pretty boy that's got to be able to do, that everybody
Hmm.
loves to hate because he looks good. So those are all the type of different, you got to have the badass, the one that comes out and doesn't give a shit. He just
Yeah.
tears it up. Um, if you have all those guys and you put them all into a promotion, you can build something.
Yeah.
Having because everybody's got to relate to a different character.
Yeah. Right.
Who do you relate to? Who do you relate to? If you're sitting in the crowd, do you relate to the 6'3", 27-year-old Jack guy? Do you relate to the guy who's older, tired, he's been around, and he wants to he's out there to just
It's,
that one last
yeah.
show for the one last hurrah, or do you relate to the guy who's like a supermodel that everybody hates? Do you relate to him? So yeah, that's the guy I like.
Yeah.
Who do you relate to? And that's where the emotional connection comes into with the crowd. Like, who do you relate to? Who's the crowd gonna? You have to find that. Um, and that's how you need to. That's what you need to do with your characters. You need to find who you are
Hmm.
and who you relate to. You know,
And the
target
chemistry
audience.
thing.
Right.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's amazing how much stuff actually goes into it. Oh, it's just 10 minutes. No, I don't think it's just 10 minutes.
Well, it's not
It's like
just
a
like,
concert. Oh, you just get up there and you play for 2 hours. No, you play for a lot of
well,
years and
you look
decades
at like
before you
that.
do 2 hours.
I think that that's probably the closest thing that can like you can relate to a wrestling, independent wrestling, is musicians. Because like
Yeah.
either you're playing in bars and working for nothing,
Yep.
or you're selling out Gillette Stadium and you're going on world tours. So
And
there is no happy medium really. I
the,
mean,
the thing is, too, because I've thought about that before, there's sometimes this misnomer that if you're not headlining WWE, if you're not headlining WrestleMania, well, then you haven't made it. But you, if you love doing that, you're still getting to, there's some, I don't want to mention the name. There's a great cover band. I think it's fabulous. I used to see them all the time.
yeah,
If their goal is to entertain and do music and be good, they are a major success. They're not selling out like what you said, Gillette Stadium, but
right.
um,
Well, no,
they're
there is. I
really
mean,
good. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
there's bands like I mean, there's
Yeah.
bands out there that like they're happy, like they can sell out 2 to 3 thousand people
Hmm.
and do really well and they're well known. But I'm
Hmm.
just saying, like for the most part, like there's really
Getting there.
music,
Yeah, right.
music and wrestling is kind of like fans and artists with that. It's like kind of like on an even tier of like, okay, so you're either here and you're
Yeah,
performing
right.
in bars or you're performing in bingo halls
Yeah, right.
or you're performing at this level, and then the big stage and
Hmm.
with the world. Um, but yeah, I think that's the difference, and not everybody wants to be um known worldwide. They don't want to go on world tours.
Or not everybody wants to do what it takes to do that.
No, that's
So,
the other thing.
which is understandable. Certainly wasn't on that level, but I learned pretty quick, and I adore my I adore my students, still do. But I realized after a while that everybody says they want to be state champ or national champ or world champ. Not everybody wants to do
No, because they like the idea of
the
it.
extra. Okay, so you're going to go do your form 25 times a day, and we're going to record it, and we're going to, and
They like
yeah,
the idea of it,
yeah.
but they don't want to put in the work that you have to do to get to that.
And
There's a
that can
lot of work.
translate. Yeah.
You have to look at the fact that like this alone too with wrestling business and then anything else is I relate. You ask a good question on the thing about relating wrestling into life, but like really, that's
Yeah.
pretty similar. Like it's
Hmm.
you know when you're looking at the whole picture of wrestling as you're looking at the whole picture of life, like you have to. I'm trying to think of how I want to say it. You could relate almost anything in wrestling to the way that you could do your everyday life. Like, and I don't mean wrestling in the sense of that, but to getting to where you want to be in wrestling, you
Sure.
can relate it to like if your goal is to reach 15 million people on a podcast, then it's the same as if my goal is to reach 15 million people watching me wrestle and perform. You have to put in the hard work and the time and the dedication, and you have to look and say, you have to give up a lot of stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of people that aren't willing to give up the things that they need to give up. And there's a lot of people that aren't willing to walk away from certain things. There's a lot of people that are like, yeah, well, I'll do anything to get this. Okay, well, you have to do this, this, and this. And they're like,
Whoa, never mind.
no.
Yeah.
Hey, guess
Right.
what? You want this? You got to up and you got to move and you got to go next week. You got to pack up everything and go. Everything. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like, what do you want and how bad do you want it? And is it going to be worth it in the end? And you do have those people who are like Tammy loves travel. So like she loves the fact that like, we can go here, there, and everything, and
Mhm.
travel all around. And she'll go with me. She doesn't always go, but she tries to go as much as she can.
Mhm.
And it's because it comes down to like the same thing in life. Like if you're not dedicated 100% and if you're not sure, it's hard to say until you're put in that position the things that you would give up or walk away from.
Um,
And success is a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
sure,
You know, I
sure.
mean, I consider right now where I'm at with wrestling successful because when I look at where I was
Mhm.
to where I'm at now, but where I ultimately want to be, it's a different level. You see, and like success for me is never quite being happy with where you're at because you always want to be
Pushing for
better.
right.
And I think that that's the thing is like you can say there's people who will settle for mediocrity and they'll say, well, I'm good here for now. I'll wait till tomorrow and I'll start.
Yeah. Thought you're
Or
gonna
I'll start
thought you're gonna start today. Oh, that was yesterday.
or
That's
I'll start
tomorrow.
when the time is right.
Yeah, good luck with that. When everything's perfect, then it'll be yeah,
Right.
good luck. And I'm not a believer in luck, so
And it's like they say, when a good time to plant a tree is?
now. Oh
20 years
yes. Yeah, right.
or today.
I'm sure you've heard that thing where the guy said, I want you to plant these trees. And the guy's like, well, it's going to take how many years? Well, in that case, oh, tomorrow plant the tree or later. Well, in that case, go plant it now. Yeah,
Yeah,
those are great.
because everybody thinks
And
that
they're true.
there's going to be a more opportune time, or I'll wait till the opportunity's right, or till the um the perfect situation when everything aligns. Well, nothing's ever going to align perfectly,
Right.
and that's just the fact is like you're just never going to sit. And it's an excuse that people give themselves to give themselves the one thing we don't have a lot of, and that's time.
Oh, see, now we're getting to it.
We don't,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. And they think that there's always going to be tomorrow. There'll be tomorrow. There'll be tomorrow. And so they wait and they wait and they'll be 75, 80 years old and they'll be going, man, if I had just gave myself that opportunity or that chance to see where I could go. Because for me, it's like looking back now is I've come to terms with the realization that I did I did it the way that it needed to be done. Like I said before, if I was older, if I was younger when it happened, could have been a disaster. I wasn't ready. But as I look now as to where it's going, and you start to look at the momentum that I have going into, my next thing, like what's my
Mhm.
next thing? And I set like those little mile markers, and I think we talked about that a little bit. Like I look at those little, you know, mile markers as like these little, nuggets that you're searching for and that you're working for to just give yourself that perspective of like I'm on the right path because you need to know like I'm on the right path. And you might be treading water for a little while, but you can't look at it as really like failing because
Hmm.
it's the only way to, that you can fail is if you're quitting. That's it. You quit, then you fail.
You have the dream, desire, and talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best instruments, music instructors, and compositions. But what about overcoming the challenges that are a risk to your incredible potential? I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
you've mentioned in the video we talked about the Thomas Edison quote.
yeah, yeah. Favorite. I love that quote. It's when the newspaper reporter asked Thomas Edison, and he said, you you failed 1,000 times before you actually got the light bulb. And he says, no, I just figured out 1,000 ways not to do it. And I figured out a
Mm.
thousand ways to not get where I was or where I wanted to be. And now I know where I have to be, how I have to get there to where I want to be. And it doesn't just come, and people think like, oh, it's like, they see like a post on Facebook or something. They'll see like a post they'll say like with me saying thank you for, Albany, New York, like WWE Monday Night Raw. Like people look at that and go like, oh, like he just made it overnight or so, like, and yeah. And I mean, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. I look at where I've been and where I'm going, and I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm just enjoying the journey because that's the biggest part of it is like if you're just always looking for it to end, then what fun is the whole journey of getting to where you're going to go? It's
Well,
all these
doesn't that
experiences,
tie
all these
back into
experiences.
being grateful?
Yeah, because it's all these experiences I talked about, tagging with Bushwhacker Loop,
Yeah.
going and doing all these extra work, going and taking and Tammy and I going to DC and Philly and New York City and Aiden going with us because he's never been there.
Hmm.
It's going here, it's going there and doing that. It's all those things are what make up the whole journey. And if my ultimate goal is to get to WWE and that's it as a full time career, and I'm too worried about getting there that I'm not paying attention to everything that I'm doing on the way to get there,
Right.
I'm wasting that whole life of the journey and the trip that what a long, strange trip it's been. So I've done some pretty great things. I've met tons of people. I've gotten to work with guys like Kevin Nash and Bob Holly, Jake Roberts, Bushwhacker Luke, Gangrel, traveled with him. All these guys that like I never thought, that I grew up watching on TV. Andy Bernard from The Office. Show on
Andy,
The Office. Yeah. So
I wasn't expecting this.
he says, he said, I kind of wish there was a way to know the good old days when we're actually in the good old days.
Oh,
Because
dude.
we don't know that we're in the good old days where we're actually in them.
Whoa, whoa.